Hi, welcome to today's Monday Live, where we're going to be talking about ADHD and autism spectrum disorder, or rather, I think it's autism spectrum condition, ASC, we're calling it now, I think. And we've got Eleni here, one of our coaches. Eleni,
Hello.
here.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, so today we're just going to have a little chat about how ADHD and autism presents together and actually how often we see it, particularly in coaching. I don't know about you, Eleni, but for me, I would say at least half of the people I coach have got both ADHD and autism. What about you?
Yes. A lot of clients come to ADHD coaching on the suggestion or advice of a medical professional, and we find in speaking with them there might be some other conditions that might not have been diagnosed, and certainly autism is one of them, and certainly something that we are very comfortable working with and supporting because we are so familiar with it. So Stephanie is absolutely right on.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's interesting. I often talk about kind of generally categorizing the two types of ADHDs into the forgetful fairy types and the worrying warrior types. And in practice, I tend to see that the combination ADHD, ASDs are more the worrying warrior types. They tend to be quite a bit more distrustful of kind of maybe the body's their world, and they tend to be able to think around the corners. They're very much the canaries in the mine that kind of see everything, and this can make it obviously very difficult in terms of increased anxiety, overwhelm, rumination, and of course decision making can be extremely difficult for these combination types. Is that something you see as well, Eleni?
Absolutely, and I think I would focus on the dysregulation because I do see that the clients with autism as well do tend to struggle with that piece of it, just maybe a tad bit more than those with just ADHD. And I think the dysregulation leads into maybe some other situations that we see, and one of those first and foremost is RSD, rejection sensitivity disorder. So you've got this individual that is already struggling with their emotions, and one of them, that perception or fear of being rejected or overlooked, can just become so magnified, and that just sort of exemplifies how much the body is not really aware of the emotions, but not in sync with the reaction.
Yeah, it can be very, very, very crippling because it's, again, invisible disability. Although I'm sure, as parents can vouch for, if they've got children with ADHD and autism, it can be very visible as well. Eventually, it gets that way.
Oh, yes.
But again, the triggers are invisible. So what we've found generally is that, yeah, there are more triggers for ADHD, ASDs. More things, even small things, so not even perceptible perhaps to the child themselves, the person themselves. And that's the issue, because we here at Advocate believe you got to name it to tame it. You really do. And they don't know what it is that is triggering them, and so when you don't know, you can't do anything about it. And it can be then just obviously will increase anxiety, will increase the need to avoid situations, to want to maybe stay home, to not go to that event, to not try. And this is what we see a lot of. So in coaching, what really helps is we really break down each situation. So we look at kind of what triggered them in the first place, and they get clear around what it is, so that they can then either avoid it next time, but in a way that they can still participate, in the event, participate in life, or just look at ways to mitigate against it. Or it could even be just being able to communicate, position with other people that these things are a thing for you, that you don't do so well, perhaps when it gets too hot, if they turn up the heating, that it'll start to maybe make you feel quite anxious and kind of a bit kind of suffocated, and you'll then maybe have less tolerance, for instance, because
Yes.
sensory sensitivities are definitely quite a thing for people with autism as well as ADHD. But when it's both, they tend to be
Yes.
the more. Isn't that right, Lenny?
Yes, absolutely. And along with that, Stephanie, I think the importance of getting an accurate diagnosis as early as possible in childhood, ideally, but certainly we've seen many adults that also get a diagnosis after their own children receive theirs. But if you do have a child that you suspect might have this condition, we urge you to do get an accurate diagnosis, and then they can be placed appropriately and receive the support that they are not only entitled to, but that will make a huge difference from early intervention.
Yeah, it's so important. We talk about how all form of behavior, all behavior is a form of communication, and it is so relevant for the kids with autism in particular, because again, it's that emotional dysregulation, that inability to tolerate getting overwhelmed very easily. And then so they're not able to articulate what it is that's the problem. So I'm sure with some of you parents, when you've got a child that features both, you might suggest maybe going out. I mean, I once suggested to my child that would go back to Australia and visit my parents, and meltdown, massive, massive. And for us, without the ASD lens, it can look really completely out of proportion. It can look as if the child is being, and unfortunately, they do grow up with this narrative, calling themselves, maybe I was just being a brat. They tend to play it down and also kind of put the negativity back on themselves. They take the blame for it. And this is completely something that we want to avoid if possible. And like with the ADHD lens, it's really important that they can look through the ASD lens, and the parents as well can look through that too. Because for instance, when I asked my child to just write down, because she was so dysregulated, she couldn't tell me what the problems were. I asked her to write it down. There were 14 very specific, very justified fears that she wrote down that actually she kind of experienced the last time we went to Australia. It was a couple of years ago, though, so I was very surprised she was able to remember all of those, but they stuck, they remained. And that's another feature I've seen in the people we coach with autism.
Yes, well, bravo for getting your child, and for any client to communicate these concerns in a way that's best for them. Without that lens, Stephanie, I do see people that are very misunderstood to those that that aren't able to view the symptoms and the behaviors in a way coming from a place of better understanding. So it is unfortunate, but it is the reality. And in coaching, role playing, and talking through situations, as you said, can really, really help an individual to prepare, and then with a few choices, be equipped to best respond.
Yeah, and come and be able to develop some self-compassion and some self-love again, because that's, unfortunately, when there isn't that lens, the story that they tell themselves, that we tell themselves again with ADHD, is usually a very negative, self-punishing one, which is not going to help them be happy and succeed in life and be their best selves. And it's, these there's such wonderful attributes and strengths and so much individuals with ADHD autism have to offer. So as a parent in particular, it's really important that we understand what's going on and that we set up our children to succeed. So, and on that note, we're hosting on the 10th of February, this Friday. That's right.
Yes.
12:30. Yes.
12:30. Yes.
In London anyway, a workshop for parents. Now, it is in relation to how to prepare your child for academic success. But obviously those preparations, it's not just academic success. It's about, helping them reach their goals really, generally, and how to do that, and how you as a parent can help rather than sometimes hinder. We're all guilty of that. We're human. A lot of us also will have ADHD, and it's not an easy gig, but do come and join us on Friday at 12:30 if you want to learn more about how you can help your child succeed.
Yes, and not just for exams, GCSEs, but certainly these are strategies looking through that ADHD lens that will help you and your child prepare for life, really. I mean, these are just the first maybe set of exams that your child might encounter, but it might be a presentation next time or a group project. So the way in which we are going to help you and your child prepare will be very beneficial.
Yeah, so tune in, and we'll post some details on that workshop in the comments today. But again, if you are looking for any further support for ADHD, and if you have autism as well, do get in touch with us. You can also contact us via our website. But otherwise, thank you for joining, and
Thank you.
we'll see you next week. I think it's Valentine's Day next week.
Day before Valentine's Day. Yes, that's right.
We're talking about, I think it's ADHD and romantic relationships.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We'll see you then.
We'll see you then.
Okay, thanks. Bye, Eleni.
Bye.